Namaskar. Good morning and good evening to those of you who are listening in from India. This is good morning in United States, and I would like to welcome General Ravi Shankar. Today, the other two generals are unable to make it, but me and General Shankar will hold the fort. Let's welcome General Shankar. Namaskar, sir. How are you?
Namaskar. Thanks a lot. One good general is here. The other two better generals are, wherever they are. That's
Wonderful,
okay,
sir.
right? I'm
Yes.
sure we'll make a good this thing. Let's go.
So, viewers, India has upgraded its response to acts of, terror or any other of that nature. What India used to have was cold start doctrine, and now they have upgraded it to cold strike doctrine. And there's a word Rudra being mentioned. I think it is something to do with Rudra Tandav. That's how I say it. I could be wrong. But General Shankar, what was cold start and what is cold strike that is being planned now by India? Over to you, sir.
Yeah, both are actually non-existent at this point of time. I must tell you this. Neither does cold start exist, nor is cold strike a strategy which is being put into place, right? But we need to think of it. We need to think of it for many reasons, and we need to see what cold start was all about, where is it led us, and we have to examine what went right and what went wrong in Op Sindoor. Honest introspection needs to be done. You need to know as to what has changed post Op Sindoor, right? And what do you want this cold strike? I mean, do you want a cold strike doctrine? And rightly so, the question is against whom do you want to use it? How will it be used? And how will it be operationalized? This is a multi-dimensional kind of an approach which I'm, talking of, so that we understand where we are. We can keep talking of Iran, Iraq, and America, Dubai, Israel. भाई घर में क्या करोगे आप? More important, what do you want to do? Okay, and it's time to do some stock taking after Op Sindoor and see how will you either handle the next crisis or head off the next crisis or create a crisis for the other guy. You know, and why I thought of this. In fact, I must tell you, is for long we've been reactive. All our thing, whether it's in Balakot after Pulwama or Pahalgam or whenever. So many things. We've been reactive. We have been reacting to whatever Pakistan does. In the initial phases, we were not even reactive. We couldn't react. It was only after 2016 we said we did the shallow surgical strikes. Then we reacted with Balakot. Even Pulwama was reactive. Op Sindhu was reactive. We reacted to them. So, is there a time that we have to be proactive? You have to understand why I'm talking this thing. We have to be very clear. We have to be proactive. And if you have to be proactive, and that's a call of the time and call of the nation, that look, it's time India becomes proactive. That's what everyone says. Am I talking nonsense? I'm just talking everyone's wish. So, if you are going to be proactive, what does it involve? One way of doing everything is just keep quiet, become proactive internally, and if and something happens, do whatever you have to do. But that still goes under realm of reactive. So then the other option with you is to declare a doctrine, a doctrinal approach to everything which happens. What does a doctrine do? I know many people don't understand this. Now, a doctrine is a declaratory intent. It's a political strategic tool where a government says, okay, if something happens to India on a particular line, I will respond in this manner. So it's some kind of an assured response mechanism where, the opponent, it doesn't matter who it is told that the intent of the government of India or the nation is this. Intent bata do, by irada. Then okay, at what threshold you'll do what. You don't have to specify it. But you can say, look, certain thresholds I'll accept, certain thresholds I'll not accept. In any case, Narendra Modiji has already said that. He said any act of war, any act of terror will be deemed an act of war. But there's an ambiguity in that. Does every act of war, every act of terror, is it deemed to be an act of war? It is. But how will you respond accordingly? For example, whatever happened in Delhi happened. We took it as an act of terror. It's also an act of war, if you go by if our prime ministers. But we chose to do what we wanted to do. Okay, for whatever reason, good reason, I'll say. So what happens is when please go ahead.
Gen Ravi Shankar, are you saying that India has responded to what played out in Delhi?
Yes.
So flesh it out, sir, for our viewers. We would love to know.
Yeah, you see, your doctrine or your response mechanism is not necessary that every time you fire it the other day. It's not necessary that anything happens and you let it go across to Pakistan or China or anywhere with everything you have, hook, line, and sinker. Right? And this is a multi-domain era. In the multi-domain era, you don't have to do things directly. Okay? So you have responded. Actually, this is something which we were to discuss tomorrow. And let me tell you.
We'll talk more about it. Today is like a teaser.
No. People should know that this is a series we're doing.
Yes.
Let everyone know. Tomorrow we're going to talk of Op Sindoor 2, which is ongoing. The way I look at it, there's my way of looking at it. It's not the official way, but there's the way I deduce it. It is silent. It is silent. It is non-kinetic and indirect. Three things. We'll talk of all these three things. And that will be in our heading also. So something, it declares intent. It declares the threshold. Through a doctrine, you can declare a threshold. Okay, you do this. If something like this happens, and beyond that, I'll respond. And what's more important is it's a whole of a nation approach. It's a government approach. Okay. So that is the requirement for a doctrine. Okay. Why do you want a cold strike doctrine? We had a cold start doctrine as per common understanding. Now let's deconstruct that. You see, we never had a cold start doctrine. Please understand this. There was never a cold start doctrine. Now everyone will say, oh, no, it was there all over the papers. The government of India never came out with a cold start doctrine. Now let me explain the story. Because if you understand the story, then you will see where I'm taking this whole story back. I mean, this conversation I had. When Op Parakram happened, right, after the parliament attack and all that, we mobilized. For many reasons, that mobilization resulted in, it didn't achieve what we wanted to achieve. Neither did we cross the border to go in for a war. We had dominance, everything, but we couldn't do what we had to do. After a month or so, it degenerated, and then for about 6 months, we were there on the border, and then it came back and all that. And one of the reasons why we couldn't do what we had to do or what we wanted to do was that for very many reasons, we couldn't mobilize our forces fast enough to act on the border. Okay, we couldn't. And that was at a time when Pakistan was committed in, other side. They were into CI operations in Swat and all those places. Yet we couldn't take advantage of that fact that Pakistan army was looking towards Afghanistan and in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa there were huge gaps in their defenses, and yet we couldn't take advantage. So for many reasons, even the political system was not geared in place. All that. In fact, I thought it was not geared at all. So now what happened was that the army went back, went to the drawing board and said, look, this can't happen. We have to change the way we mobilize, the way we respond to anything. If the nation expects us to do something within a time span, we should be able to do it. So we started putting in place something so that tomorrow, one fine day, you're told do something. So you should be able to do something. So army started putting things in place. For some funny reason, people said, oh, it's a cold start. It's a doctrine. And there was no doctrine. It was an army internal exercise how to mobilize faster. It got converted into the name got attached to it as cold start. And then what happened was that this got picked up by Pakistan. And Pakistan converted, oh, India has a cold start doctrine. When they started, look, if this happens and India puts this doctrine, cold start doctrine through, we are at a disadvantage. So they brought this issue of tactical nuclear weapons into the battlefield. That's how Nasser came into thing, and they said, okay. Then that got picked up by our media and our think tanks, and we started discussing it as a cold start doctrine. But that cold start doctrine was never a doctrine. Even the army never had a cold start doctrine. I mean, I'm privy to that. I'm very clear about it. Right? But in some manner, people started using this term loosely in our circles. But the government never approved it. The Indian Air Force and the Navy were not on board with this thought process. It was an entirely army exercise. How to mobilize faster got turned into a national doctrine on its own. And then ultimately, no amount of refusal, we don't have a cold start doctrine doesn't work, because everyone feels that we have a cold start doctrine. That one fine day when the coin flips or the bubble bursts or whatever you call it, or the balloon goes up, we'll be there on a cold start and get going and all that. It wasn't meant to be. It wasn't a doctrine. A doctrine has certain issues. You need to signal intent. That intent of that doctrine, if it ever was thought of cold start, was only to mobilize faster and be in action faster. Rest was left to this thing. And the government, any doctrine has to be put out by the government. So that is where we are. Now the fact is that in Op Sindoor, you did a lot of strikes. You did a lot of strikes in depth. You did everything. You did a whole lot of things. Okay. What happens next? How do you go about doing the next thing? Okay. What happens if tomorrow Pakistan does something? What will your response be? What is your doctrinal response to this whole story? Why only Pakistan? What happens if something happens in the Indian Ocean? How will you respond? How will you respond if China does something? Right? So I said, okay, I mean, this is the thing which I tried to coin, to call it a cold strike doctrine. Does India need a cold strike doctrine? Okay. And why have I spoken of cold strike? Why am I speaking of cold strike? I'm speaking of cold strike because, you see, look at Op Sindoor. So I have to get back, we have to get back to Op Sindoor and what happened there. What happened there? You struck the terrorist targets. That was expected. That was expected by Pakistan and you. That's why they were waiting with their air force the other side. We were doing all that nonsense. First day that happened. The second day, third day, by fourth day, May 10th, 9th, 10th, that night, you struck deep into his territory. We all discussed it. That was a strategic surprise because Pakistan didn't expect you to go and hit Rahim Yar Khan, didn't expect you to hit that bases, behind in along the Indus, Rafiki and all those, the Nur Khan Air Base, or for that matter, that hill Kiranaji. So they didn't expect. It was a strategic surprise. Now, else did Op Sindoor show? It showed complete operational dominance. You Then intelligence dominance. You knew everything about Pakistan, whether what's there in Malir, what's there in Nurkan, what's there in Kirana, what's there wherever. Jacobabad, you hit them with precision. And then you had in escalation dominance. The escalation control was with us. Then politically you were very steadfast. Okay. And many people say, look, India lost the information war. Sure, I also feel so. But we are winning the cognitive war. There's a difference between cognition and information. Information is what happens immediately. Cognition is a long-term affair. And we'll talk of that also. Because that's important to know where this full strike doctrine is. So, yeah, please.
Shankar, yeah, just one line on the information war. By 10th, India had absolute superiority over the skies. India could do whatever it wanted. What was the root cause of all the terrorism of the last 40 years? The ISI. They could have just taken out the headquarters. Then they can't say, they can't hide that. They could have done that. I mean, just one other BrahMos. Just my 2 cents, sir. Back to you.
No, look, let's face facts. During Op Sindoor, I thought we could have done better on the information space. It's now universally acknowledged. And on that, I have not had a doubt ever. We could have done better, right? And that's how Pakistan was able to convince. And Pakistan had the Chinese behind them and the Americans behind them to propagate their story along with their own story. And they were, look, you have a grant. Don't ever underestimate Pakistan. They're a shrewd lot of buggers. Okay. So those chaps, they played the whole thing. And even now, the anniversary of Op Sindoor is going to come up. They must be playing up something. But that we'll talk of later. Okay. So the fact is, short term, everyone felt, even the Chinese went to the town to say, oh, India lost the air war. Okay. But today, as things are happening, the cognition, the long-term cognition is coming in. And today, Pakistanis feel that they've lost the war. They'll not say they lost the war, but heart of hearts, they know they've been hit and they have no defense against it. Right? Yeah, you wanted to say something, please.
Jala Shankar, see, I'm not talking off the top of my head about, taking out the ISI building. What are the 3 targets that Pakistan had at India? They wanted to take out Vaishno Devi, they wanted to take out Golden Temple, they wanted to take out Indian Parliament. Okay, I mean, that's what I'm wondering, over to you.
No, look, I'm not saying that they wanted to take out, they did take out, not take out. That's different. That's a different story altogether. How we handled it is a different story. But unfortunately, we didn't put it out. We didn't play it out, the way it should have been played out. Okay. But they played out what they could. You have to accept certain things. But the long-term cognition is coming to us. And this is something I've written about. Okay. So that's how it is. Now, the fundamental of the strikes which we did, what we did against Pakistan were strikes. Now, if those strikes are a paradigm in which you can fit yourself, do you need a cold strike doctrine is a question we have to ask ourselves. That anything happens, I'm going to strike you. It's a cold strike. I'm not going to ask questions. And try it and test me. So that's the thing, whether you want a cold strike thing or not. The next question is against whom? Like I said, from my side, there's a government, national approach, whole of government approach. You can do it. You don't have to mention in your doctrine it is against Pakistan, China, or anyone else. You have it. Let everyone know that okay, you do something, I'll do this. You don't have to specifically say what you have to do, but you can definitely say okay, something I'll do. Right? And you signal your intent and you say what threshold and what measures you'll take and how will you use it. A doctrine. Yeah, cold strike is something which I've pulled out of Op Sindoor. Don't want a cold strike doctrine? Make a response. Okay? Don't call it cold strike, cold start, anything. That's okay. Call it anything you want. Call it the first strike. Don't even call it the first responder. You call it a proactive thing, whatever. Okay. Where did I get this idea from? I mean, the two things. The first point where I got this idea was from PRAHAAR. What is PRAHAAR? PRAHAAR is the new strategy which came out 4 days back, if you remember. Right? It was about our internal security doctrine or a strategy which we coined and put it in the public space. Okay. And then you have to understand after Sindoor, certain things have changed. 1 year since Sindoor, certain things have changed. You put both these together, you need a doctrine. Okay. So let's first go to the doctrine which has been put out. This is the first time India has put out a doctrine of this nature. Of course, we have a nuclear doctrine, no first use doctrine. Very clear. What does no first use indicate? It says, look, I will use nuclear weapons, but I'll not be the first to use nuclear weapons. If someone fires at me, I will fire him. I'll fire back at him, right? And I'll not keep quiet. And I reserve the right to, use nuclear weapons the way I want once he's used it. And for that, you see what happens when you give a doctrine of this, a doctrinaire approaches. Now you said, I'm going to do this. So you have to do or create capacities to do what you have said or execute whatever your plan is. So that doctrinal approach is very important. And that's what you've done when you spoke of PRAHAAR. Right? And what is PRAHAAR all about? PRAHAAR itself is an acronym. I'll just show you a slide so that you understand what this thing is. Yeah. Can we have this slide, please?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, PRAHAAR is this. It's an acronym. What does P stand for? It stands for Prevention of Terror Attacks to protect Indian citizens and interests. Okay? Right. Of course, for each this thing, in this doctrine lays out how it is going to be done. Responses. Now, prevention is largely based on intelligence and all that. What are the responses? Now, he's talking in this doctrine of the responses which are swift and proportionate to the threat posed. It also talks of aggregating. A is for aggregating internal capacities for achieving synergy in a whole of the government approach. Then it talks of H is human rights and rule of law based processes for mitigation of threats. Now, A is for attenuating the conditions enabling terrorism, including radicalization. Okay. Then aligning and shaping international efforts to counter terrorism. And then recovery and resilience through a whole of society approach. Okay. So these are there. Now you're declared that this is what you're going to do if something happens internally. Okay. So why not do it externally? I mean, that's how this whole story of cold strike and make it in sync with this. So of necessity, thank you. We can take this off. Oh, unless you have a question, Sriharji, on this.
Just wanted to observe that the word prahar in Sanskrit means perimeter, sort of like a wall. If you take a look at any of the temples that are still, up and running in South India, for example, Srirangam has 7 prahars. It's one of the largest temple areas, maybe very close to Angkor Wat. But basically that's what it is. They keep building, a square a square perimeter box, and then another one, inner one, and inner one, and so on. I just thought that it was very apt to you name it that way. Back to you, sir.
No, that there's another connotation to Prahar. Another connotation to Prahar is attack. The normal Hindi way of looking at it is Prahar is attack. One is boxing in yourself in, the other is attack. Right? So it's a mix. It's a affect. It's a you're telling the whole world that I'm going to be proactive. If you're going to be proactive internally, why not be proactive externally? You can call it what you want. You call it cold strike, cold start, cold A, whatever it is, hot strike, yeah, all that. So you can. And like I said, it can be against any three of our opponents. So people should know that what we are capable of doing and what we want to do. And if you go through the doctrine which has been put out by the Ministry of Home Affairs, it's quite comprehensive. It tells you exactly what is going to be used and how it's going to be used. Right? So there is a requirement now that you put an internal security doctrine out, a external security doctrine has to come in. And this I wouldn't call it an external security doctrine, an international security doctrine. After all, if you're looking at something, okay, let's look at it. Tomorrow you operate a rig in Venezuela, okay, and oil rig, and something happens there. How will you respond? Do we have a response mechanism? The United States puts out its strategy. Trump's hemispheric strategy, Trump's national security strategy, this, that, all that. Put it out as a national security strategy externally. I have no problem. Right? Regional, whatever. But you need. Okay. The next thing is you need to understand what happened during, the 1 year which has elapsed between Sindoor and now. Things have flipped. Where is after Op Sindoor, whether you like it or not, where have you gone? You crossed that $4 trillion mark and all that. Economy, you're booming, fastest growing economy. Geopolitically, you signed 8-9 FTAs from then to now. USA has flipped its stance from what it was at the beginning of Sindoor to now. It's flipped another month, right? And then, of course, you looking at your after today morning, we spoke of the hexagonal alliance, which is likely to come up, right? So things have changed. Things have changed drastically from last year to here, economically or commercially, or India as a destination of growth. You have international AI summit here. Both lot of change. Okay, your own military capability has increased. Many things. India has grown. After Op Sindoor, it has grown in the eyes of international affairs or everything. And I'll talk about it a little. What's happened to Pakistan? Pakistan has regressed since Op Sindoor. What has happened in China? China has gone into a deep hole with what's happening in its military, its economy is struggling, internal strife, everything. So if everything is in a mess in that place, you have to see, how are you going to go about doing all this? It's very important. So if you take all this into account, you need a doctrine. You also Op Sindoor, or during Op Sindoor and beyond, you shown political steadfastness, especially when there is instability. Mind you, when we undertook Op Sindoor at a time when the Iran-Iraq-Israel war was almost at its peak, if you remember, and yet we went through. Certain important things came out, right, in this Op Sindoor. Those lessons we need to implement for the future. You went in to this Op Sindoor without international permission, which is very important. You see, earlier when Op Parakram took place, and say even for that matter, Pulwama attack took place and all that, we waited for signals to come from the West whether we can go in and do something against Pakistan. Now you said, no, no, forget. Already our Prime Minister has said, an act of terror is an act of war, forget it, I will do what I have to do. He's already stated it. Doctrinally, he's already stated it. So I don't need international permission to do what I have to do. It's already stated. And I have rejected mediation. Every time Trump says, oh, I mediated, we say, sorry, you didn't mediate. We said that. Our Prime Minister said that. We have all said that. And this is our declared posture, no mediation. If all this has happened, your economic situation has changed, your strategic situation changed, your geo-economic posture has changed, you don't accept external mediation, you don't need international permission. If all this you have done, why not declare all this? What I'm saying is not something which you have not done, or it is something a pie in the sky. You've done all this. So you might as well tell everyone, this is my doctrine. And you not accepted mediation ever. You didn't accept it in 71 also. You didn't accept it anywhere else. So, right? Yeah, there comes General Dushyant. So you not, so post Sindoor, your own situation has changed. Then you have also, done something indirect. You kept quiet. You played the footloose kind of a thing when something was happening in Balochistan, when something was happening in KPK, when something was happening in, Afghanistan. All this is happening. You're quiet. You're happy. You're letting him do what you want to do. So actually, you shook hands with Afghanistan, and you did a lot of things with them, and that is playing itself out. So is there a case for us to say, okay, if someone does anything to us, either through, like China played the second hand game through Pakistan, it pushed Pakistan in front. Okay, fine, you do that. I'll do something against you through a third hand. So you might as well declare all these and say, you try this, I'll do this. I don't have to say that I'm going to go and support Balochistan and you show the whole world pictures of you giving whatever you want to do for Balochistan. You do everything. You have declared your thing, and you try after that. I will do what I want. Okay. Then you be very clear about our water treaty, Indus Water Treaty. Again, you don't have to you don't have to call it Indus Water Treaty. You say resource. I will do what I have to do for resources. Resource control. You put resource control in your declaratory intent. Okay. It signals people as to look, this is where you can do anything, can't do anything, should do. Then he starts thinking, what's the cost I have to pay for all this? And especially if you are saying, I want to go reach out into the Mediterranean, I want to get oil from Venezuela, I want to put up an oil rig in or a gas find in infrastructure in Andaman Nicobar. You're spreading your wings. So you might as well give out a strategy which takes care of all your footprint all over. Look at China. China doesn't have the strategy. See how it's suffering. China never had a strategy or never put out a strategy to say, or a doctrine to say, anyone who hurts my interest, I will get after him. His interests have been getting hit all over the countryside. Why? Because obviously China worked on the principle that, look, I can do what I want, nothing will happen to me. But that doesn't work anymore. Right? And then, of course, your cooperation with France, Israel, Japan, UAE, you name it, Brazil, has improved. Argentina has improved. So why are you not leveraging all this diplomatic heft you're getting and put it on the table and say, this is my response strategy. Whether you call it cold strike or not is all this thing. Right? So I've broadly given the whole lot. I'm sure General Dushyant has come. I've given some ideas to him to talk of or as a thing. I'm sure you this thing, and I'm actually very grateful for General Dushyant to have joined because he's got caught in a traffic snarl in JNU, and yet he has come in time. Uh, Great, Dushi, all yours, your
Thank
views
you
on
so
this.
much, General Dushyant. Welcome back, and I'm glad you could make it. You braved a lot of hazards, and you probably drove like there was
I
no
had to.
tomorrow.
I went out of the back door of JNU. The front of the JNU is all about Dharna and whatnot. The JNU has gone to dogs. That's the short answer. It doesn't look like a national university at all. It's
I thought it
absolutely
was just the sociology department because they have some other fundamental research that's excellent.
no. They have everything, but they should allow them to do work, no? We
That's
had
true.
this seminar, which was national conference on counterterrorism, which was oversold. I mean, oversubscribed. And when we reached there, auditorium of 800 people was vacant.
Hmm.
Imagine a university of JNU had no one inside that. So they cobbled up about 30, 40 guys, took us to a small little lecture hall with a small little table, made us sit there, in which Harsh Pant was supposed to be the moderator. Then they got in Tej Prakash Yadav, Tej Prakash Singh from BHU, and we had four big names on the table trying to convey our gyan to those people who were cobbled up from left, right, and center. They went through the. There was a technical session before that. There were 6 or 7 people, and students had come all the way from Chandigarh, somebody from Patna, somebody from south, down south, to present their paper, and they were just presenting to empty chairs. That's not research. I mean, that's not encouragement of research. I'm sorry. I mean, we digressed from the topic
No,
of
no, no,
today.
no, no. I think it's important.
No, this
That
is
is,
also the reality. This is also
these
the
people are not
reality of.
interested.
Hmm.
These people are not interested in studying. They are interested in doing politics. That's about all. I wish we actually take very stern action when these people come up for jobs, etc. They should be put on their place, because they are not aware of national security. None of the guys are aware of national security questions. They're absolutely at sea. Anyway, so we were you were discussing, sir, basically deterrence and cold start, or you
No,
were
I
discussing.
will put it this way. You see, I have explained so far as to look, we cold start was not a doctrine.
Okay.
It was
Yeah,
never a
got it.
doctrine. It was
Got it.
never
Got
a
it.
doctrine, right? But it assumed the proportions of a doctrine.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So I'll start from
Now,
there, sir.
now, now, it assumed. Now, after Op Sindoor, the way things have changed after Op Sindoor, and the way you this thing, is there a case? And now that you come out with the internal security doctrine in PRAHAAR, do you
Yeah.
think there's a requirement for doctrine? I mean, I just called it cold strike because we carried out strikes, and you could call it
Understood.
anything
Understood.
you want.
Understood, sir. I went through the paper of General Vinay Shankar, your I think predecessor, sir, if I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
wrong.
long back. Yeah.
Yeah, long back, long back. He's written an excellent paper in which basically what he has done is that he has said that the Indian armed forces have transformed their strategy of cold start to cold strike. Now, this change he has assumed based on the fact that now we have the capability to strike without getting into contact. So, therefore, our speed of engaging the adversary based on any kind of a incident which our adversary might take against us in quick time. So, therefore, it is cold strike and not cold start. So, it's gone beyond the start. Start would mean just start mobilizing from our barracks and from our permanent locations. Now, with given the kind of surface movement, communications, transportation, all those things, the mobilization would be very quick, and that is given. What is required is that timely engagement of the adversary. Now, this is known to everybody. Even the Chinese have now started working on a cold start strategy against us. And that is why what they have done is they have mobilized about 50,000 plus now troops all along the border, because they want to respond in the same time frame. Earlier, they used to take a lot of time mobilizing from mainland to coming on to Tibetan plateau, etc. So the Chinese have copied or aped us for a change. I think that is something very good. In fact, the day Doklam had happened, I had said it's a excellent thing which we have done. We have forced a battalion of Chinese to come eyeball to eyeball with us, and when their chocolate soldiers found that it is very difficult to survive in high altitude terrain, they realized what it takes, and you find all kinds of mushrooming of state of the art bunkers and this and that. So they've already declared that they are now into a cold start strategy. Okay, so that is a reality. Now, if you want to make it into a declaratory policy, by all means, we should do it. And I'll give the logic or reason for doing so with a personal example. Now, this personal example pertains to 2007 when I was in the Naval Postgraduate School, US. There was a discussion being held in an open forum with university students or college students being invited, which comprised of both military, civil students, as well as faculty, which was essentially 100% civilian. In front of them were the DGISI, GOC 12 Corps of the Pakistan Army, and their foreign ambassador, ex-ambassador of the United States of America. All three were made to stand in front of them. The first two were serving. The ambassador had just relinquished his post. Now they were being grilled in the open about what have you done to the 6 billion aid which we gave you after we left Afghanistan. I'm talking of Afghanistan War 1, when the Russians were, believe you me, they were being grilled not only by the director DNI, which was Peter Lavoie. I think all of you would be aware who was Peter Lavoie, and Obama had just taken over as president. In between, I asked, in fact, I commented on certain things which GOC 12 Corps was presenting. So I was told by Peter Lavoie that, Colonel from India, please do not ask any more questions to GOC 12 Corps. I will tell you the reality of what has happened on ground. So I was in my cold start or cold strike mode, and the GOC 12 Corps was trying to defend and say that, the northwestern frontier, in those days it was all FATA, everything was separate. It was not mixed into, it was not merged into a KPK as it is today. At pains to say that it is not a counterinsurgency, it is a terrorism which is taking place, and we are finding it, we are dealing with it with all kinds of weapons, because these are not our people. These are people who have come from across, that is from Afghanistan, and they are trying to, cause damage to us. So I had commented that, look, you've just started dealing with counterinsurgency and counterterrorism. You will take about 40-50 years to learn. I think 2007, now 2026, 20 years have already passed, and they have still not learned, and they will continue to learn. So anyway, Peter Loy, what he said was that, when the question was asked pointedly that you have deployed the 6 billion, majority of the fund on the Indian front. So the answer of GOC 12 Corps was, look, he said that my primary front is India. So therefore, my major concern is not the western border, but the eastern borders. So if my major concern is that, whether you give, it is up to me how to spend that 6 billion. Will I spend on the eastern border, or will I spend on the western border? To that, the Peter Loy wanted to satisfy the Pakistani counterpart, and he said, look, I have gone to India, I have visited India, and the sense I have got there is that the government of India does not even know that there is something called cold start strategy, which is being planned by generals of the Indian Army. So be rest assured, it is only at the military level. There is no governmental or political approval for this strategy. So please start deploying everything on the western front, where western border, where the main threat is. They didn't do so after that also, which resulted in now what is happening in Afghanistan phase two. Their own friends have become their own enemies. So point I'm trying to say is that this thing about cold start strategy, although we were doing it, the rest of the world was sure that it is not a governmental policy. So if this is going to be the state of affair, might as well the government declare it that this is our policy, that should you take any action of this nature, XYZ, you can lay down scenarios, the scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3, whichever way you want to call it. We will take actions as per our cold strike policy, or whatever you want to call it. I don't want to put words into the to a matter which will be refined and discussed and debated, and
Yeah,
then
that's
a particular policy will follow out. But declaratory policy is not meant for losing surprise. Declaratory policy in today's world is meant for narrative warfare.
no
It is
ambiguity. Also ambiguity.
ambiguity and the narrative. It is
Narrative.
sending a strategic message to Mullah Munir that, look, partner, we have now shifted from strategic restraint to strategic offense. Now, this is something which will put a lot of debate in his mind. Yeah, he will also get ready for it. So be it. He was in any case getting ready. There was nothing changing. When he was seeing your deployment, when he's seeing your exercises, what are they? They are declaratory in nature. Today we are having 3 exercises going on of the army with international forces, and 3 were just concluded by the navy on the Vizag of the
Course,
coast.
Milan.
So there are 6 exercises, international, national level, going on. What will the adversary read out of it? The Chinese will read something about the Vizag exercise. The Pakistanis will read something about our internal exercises which are going around on the western front under the southern command. So all these things are declaratory in nature. Look, partner, we are, and this is not that key the routine exercises. Earlier we used to do once in 3 months, once in 3 years, or once in 2 years. This is now, I think, third or the fourth exercise only this year, post
Yeah,
Sindoor.
yeah.
So it is Op Sindoor 2.0 going on for as a preparatory action. So declaration is already there. Might as well declare it. I would praise MHA for only one thing. They have come out and bailed the cat of putting something in writing.
Yeah.
I think MOD and the NSCS must take a cue from this and issue out their national security policy, national military security policy. I won't even say national security policy, because national security policy will encompass energy security, economic security. It will be a big document. So therefore, in my view, it's a good step. Yes, it needs a lot of deliberation and debate, and it should come up. We already have a draft ready. Let me also tell you, there are drafts ready. It has to be just fine tuned and then issued out.
General Dushyant, before you continue, I'll let you continue, sir. I just want you to expand on the acronyms you just used. That's so we understand what you mean. Was it MHA, like Ministry of Home Affairs?
Yeah, Ministry
Yeah,
of Home Affairs.
MHA is
Then you
Ministry of
said
Home
couple more.
Affairs.
Yeah.
MHA is Ministry of Home Affairs, and MOD is Ministry of Defense. So we normally in the US they call it as DOD. We call it as MOD,
Oh, no, no, no.
Ministry
It
of.
is different. Department of War now. Now.
Yeah, now it is now it is DOW. DOW. But earlier it was DOD there, so we had MOD here. So what I'm trying to say out here is that it is very clearly first time in the history of India that a government at the national level has come out with a document, which is a good step, first step, not adequate as of now, because there are a lot of ambiguities at the policy level in the national counter-terrorism policy. I'm sure it will be debated, but public, I mean, there will be internal discussions on this policy, and it will get further refined. So I think I'll stop here, and then we can take it forward. If you want to discuss specifically about counter-terrorism policy, I can do so. I've done it on 2-3 channels. Yeah, today also I spoke in GNU also on the same issue. So specifics I'm avoiding basically because it's almost there. It's already there in the environment. Everybody can read it. 9 pages takes about 9-10 minutes to read through. It's not much of an issue, but there are gaps which we need to clarify in this. There are big gaps, big gaping holes. I think the policy needs to be refined on that count.
Thank you so much, sir. We have a few questions. We can take the questions now. Yeah, I'm sure more expansion will come out of that. Thank you so much, Pushpal Hansraj. Do you think at all work on concentrating supply chains, manufacturers of defense items, pack silica would help to make our indigenous innovations?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely. It's
It's
not
a
only
given,
that.
yes.
It's a given. If you do all this indigenization, innovation, Atmanirbharta and all, your counter-terrorism strategy or your cold strike strategy. I'll call it cold strike. I like it. So whatever it comes out finally, or your PRAHAAR, whatever you call it, becomes stronger because then in any and if you put it out and say, look, I'm going to do my supply chain like this. I'm going to, if tomorrow China does something to you, you should be able to counter it. If China wants to twist your tail and say, I won't give you copper or something like that, you should have capability to do something else so that you don't get caught.
Absolutely. Very simply, why don't we buy equipment from China? I mean, what else declaration do you want?
Yeah.
Next one, please. Satish wants to know, this is for you, General Dushyant. Do we have any plans for denuclearizing Pakistan? I understand it can't be discussed. Op Sindoor showed us a trailer, but we must have robust plans on this, irrespective of political decisions to act. General Dushyant.
This question, as you have already said that we cannot discuss it here, I will not discuss it here. Be rest assured that there is a specific separate department and command which deals with it in a very comprehensive manner, and they look at all the contingencies. I think that should be enough to assure our audience that you don't have to really take much into consideration, because such duels are actually apocalypse duels as and when it happens.
Pakistan had 2 atomic energy companies working in parallel against each other most of the time. Khan Research Labs and PAEC. And you have to read some of these things to understand what kind of a fierce rivalry they were having. One wants to do enrich uranium, the other one wants to do plutonium. Big mess. That's all I can tell you. Next one. Jeet wants to know, thank you for making the distinction between cognitive and narrative warfare. The truth will always come out.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah.
That's how it always is. In fact, now that General Dushyant is here, I'd like to, I won't highlight it. He made us write a book on Op Sindoor. One chapter was on information warfare, the other chapter was on cognitive warfare. And I dealt with that cognitive warfare. And what I've written in that business, that over a period of time, the cognition that Pakistan is weak, Pakistan can be intimidated, and Pakistan can be broken, will come up because of Op Sindoor. And it will not come up because what we say. This feeling will come from Pakistanis. I wrote that then, and we, all after a lot of discussion, this thing. Today it's coming true. Today Pakistanis are talking of all this nonsense.
Yeah.
Warfare तो हो गया ना. अब देखो ट्रम्प किस तरीके से 6 लॉ कर रहा है, 6 लॉ से वो 11 हो गया, 11 से लेके पाकिस्तान का प्राइम मिनिस्टर को मार रहा है.
And in the same breath, in the last statement which he made, I don't know whether it is true or AI generated, he said that I saved the Pakistan Prime Minister would have died. So what he's indirectly trying to say is that now he's hitting the minds. He's hitting the cognitive. That is cognitive domain. That's not information warfare.
Narrative is what हम कुछ भी बोल लो, narrative बना लो यार कहानी. But cognition. Yeah. The connection between your eyes, your head, and that's the cognition. Yeah, please, next.
And link it to
But
the
for this,
hiding in the shelters and bunkers. You have to link these two, three things.
PLA set wants to know, General Shankar, why is Modiji not taking action against terror cells or RaGa in spite of open instigations, especially now that Pakistan has a hold in Bangladesh again?
I wouldn't like to comment on it because this is completely political.
Political.
So yeah, I wouldn't like to comment on this. Uh, yeah.
Akash Tadani wants to know, this is for you again, General Shankar. In a manner of speaking, would Op Sindoor 1, 2, 3 et al. Qualify as cold strike actions?
Look, we've done only Op Sindoor. There's no 1, 2, and 3 so far, officially. Okay. Uh, it's not cold strike. When I say you can call it cold strike, but it's really not cold strike. It's not a doctrinal principle that you put into place. And you surprise them strategically. Part of the deal. You didn't have a doctrine which says I'm going to hit you no matter what. Now, of course, after what happened, Modiji very clearly came out and said, any act of terror is an act of war. Then I reserve the right what to do, and I will not allow. And he said, terror and everything can't go hand in hand. And I'll close. I don't recognize the Indus Water Treaty. See, what my argument so far is, it's not only what General Dushyant has said. Many parts of the doctrine you have already enunciated and put it out in the open.
Absolutely.
Already. So if you've done all that, you come out with an internal document for internal security, and you have to complement this with an external security doctrine, right? And put it. And this doctrine need not focus. I mean, you might focus only on Pakistan because it's only from Pakistan. But tomorrow, if China does something, there should be enough masala in this to tell one China off also. So there is a lot of scope which we have to clarify. Okay. For example, the issue of supply chains. China should know that if they try to twist us through supply chains, we have methods to get out of it. So all this has to be put as part of a declaratory, a broader policy or a doctrine. Very much like what USA and all put out for they have a hemispheric role. You might not have a hemispheric role, but you have a regional role, right? So you need to put that out, and especially because our footprint geopolitically and geoeconomically is increasing.
Absolutely.
Your stakes are increasing.
General Dushyant, this is for you, sir. Will not a spelt out cold strike doctrine work against us in information war if for some reason we decide not to pursue the doctrine at some point in time?
Okay, any doctrine cannot be fixed in time. It has to be very dynamic in nature. If you even look at the US, UK, France, Spain, Netherlands, who have put out such doctrines, they actually make it a dynamic process. And as things change, for example, even the way technology is changing, your doctrine will take a shift, will get a change. So if you do want to do a change uh, based on a new situation which has emerged, that's fine. You are already having debate without a doctrine in the parliament. So if you do not follow a particular aspect of the doctrine, it won't make much of a difference. You have to see the intent of the doctrine. If you are able to achieve the intent without striking also, that's a very good course. But I can't put it as the only option for me. I can't just say that okay, I will avoid war at all costs. No, I have to say that I have to achieve my national interest. How I achieve, I have all the options open to me. That would be a declaratory doctrine. I have to achieve my national interest. For doing that, I have all the options open: offensive, defensive, not doing anything. Even that is also an option, or doing things in a different manner, which is basically the gray zone. So be it. I think that should be the way we should structure our doctrine, so that the enemy is also confused. He also knows, yeah, they can do anything. They can go
Yeah,
gray, they can go gray, they can go white, they can grow, they can be neutral also,
and
and they can
hybrid.
yeah, hybrid, and then they can ignore even the nuclear overhang. So that
Thank
is
you,
the way.
Ashish Agre. Sir, please finish your thoughts, sir. You were saying something, General Dushyant.
So I wanted to share incident because it happened in the JNU today only. So somebody got up, a bright student. He got up and he said, "I have read through the national counterterrorism policy. Uh, I can produce it in a 1 hour research. So it is hardly any work of excellence as far as I'm concerned. I was wanting to write a issue brief on this, but now I have dropped the idea." So I had to answer him. I said, "Look, partner, anything which looks simple, it's
It's
not that it is
complicated.
really simple. It's very complicated. Read through each line and see where there are pitfalls, where there are positives. Once you identify that, then you write a issue brief. You'll find that even 10,000 words will be less for you to write a issue brief. So what I'm trying to say is that a one line statement may also contain loaded implications.
Um, Thank you so much, Gopakumar. Russian relationship is hindering our active participation with half of the world. Why even begin a strong military power? Why are we so concerned about the alliance with others? Nirmal Shankar.
Look, Russian relationship is not hindering anything. Please understand this. I mean, this is what we discussed in the morning also, and it's out in the open. Recently, Mr. Putin was asked, why are you not siding Iran? And why are you keeping quiet in this business between Iran and Israel? So, you know what he said? He says, look, Israel has a substantial Russian population, Russian speaking Jews. I can't go against them. So, how can I help Iran? And in geoeconomics, geopolitics, things change. What Russia's stance was yesterday is no more today. He wants to get into the dollar camp. Okay? So things are changing. So now don't think that our relationship with Russia is hindering our active participation with half of the world. You participated with EU even despite Russia. You're participating with USA despite Russia. So things change. Nothing is fixed in stone. That's what Gen Dushyant also said. You put out a policy, it's not static, it's dynamic. The most dynamic things in the world are international relations. Okay. Some of the most static things are your interests. You have to
Yes.
look to your interests. Okay. What is your interest? Yeah.
Thank you, Bharat Vats. What is your opinion about China externalities, its problem towards us, its probability, also any view on PM's Israel visit? General Dushyant, too many questions. You can choose to answer
Yeah,
one
yeah,
or two.
yeah. I mean, there are short 3-4
No,
questions in this particular
what I
question.
would suggest is view on PM's Israel visit you avoid,
Yeah,
because this is
yeah.
something which we did in the morning. I think you could
Right,
just put,
right.
yeah, right. The first
So
part,
as far as China's externalities are concerned, it has not changed. It views India as a regional competition. It will continue to do a tactical engagement with India. Probability of a full-fledged war are as of now unlikely. Yes, short skirmishes, short transgressions cannot be ruled out, for which India is ready. And in the end, if there is an eventuality of any kind of a major conflict, I think both are building for it, both India as well as China. So let's be on that path, and this is what the future of China's China-India relation is concerned, in a nutshell.
Murthy wants to know, can the ramjet developer artillery shell be modified and used for unguided rockets on jets and helicopters for increased attack range? General Shankar.
yeah, definitely, and it's being done. Let me put it that way, short and sweet.
General Dushyant, this is for you, sir. Thank you for your time. Do we still keep our weapons demated? If so, should we be looking at keeping them mated and ready?
Again, I won't answer this question. Please do not go into the nuclear domain. It is really not. It's above my pay grade to answer it as of today.
Thank you,
I,
Pristine
I,
Aura.
I just want,
Only
I just want to assure people that don't get concerned with these mated, unmated. If we are aware that we have to meet some challenges, we will meet those challenges.
As simple as that.
Right.
Christine Aura, thank you. Only if India is able to create 2 to 5 clean and modern cities with good sanitation, they'll be able to speed run our aerospace defense manufacturing with the help of Indian diaspora. General Shankar.
Look, there's no
Connection.
connection between these two. You need clean cities and modern cities. Why only 2 to 5? You need everyone to be clean and modern with good sanitation. Our problems for achieving this are different because, you know, the way our cities are growing, we are not able to cope up with the influx of population into these cities. Our infrastructure is not there for that. And our strategy for these cities has to be get a pull away from the cities. You see, China urbanized. 66 or 70% of China is today in urban sectors, not in rural. There are a lot of problems because of that, but that be that as it may, everyone thinks for development you need urbanization. This is the international trend. But I think I'll go back to what Gandhiji said. He said India lives in its villages. He said that, at the turn of our independence. So we need to develop our villages and our rural areas better. Create second tier, third tier cities which are as good in terms of connectivity and in terms of opportunity, and spread the jam around and stop concentrating people into our rural urban areas. That way the urban areas can be clean, and there's a greenfield development in these two tier, second tier and third tier cities. You can plan them out. Because if you generally go to our smaller cities and villages, they're pretty clean. Okay, it's only the bigger cities which are overcrowded, congested, grown inorganically where there are problems. So you have that. But that has got nothing to do with defense manufacturing. Let me tell you this. Defense manufacturing is a complete different set of. This is a different ball game. Requirements are different. Your skill sets are different. Your infrastructure requirement is different, and everything is different in that. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you so much, sir. Thank you so much, General Dushyant Singh, for taking the effort to come in, even if it was a little late. I think you came in at the right time, sir. General Shankar was finishing up and you came in, so it all worked out well. Thank you once again, General Shankar. And viewers will be seeing General Shankar tomorrow at 9 a.m. about Op Sindoor 2.0. Is it already in play? And what are the things that we'll be talking about? You will get to know when you join in. Thanks once again, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.